Everybody, welcome to the first City Council meeting of 2022. I hope this brings everybody a good year. So I'd like to remind everybody to please turn off or silence your electronic devices, and that especially includes us. And if you would, please stand and join me in the invocation and the pledge. Lord, as we enter into a new year, we thank you for your many gifts and blessings upon us. Help us to never take our freedoms and liberties for granted, and to always remember that you are the source of all that is good. We pray tonight for those in our community who are suffering illness, loss of loved ones, or economic hardship. Help each of us here do our part to assist those in need, not just during the holiday season, but throughout the whole year. We ask for guidance and wisdom during our meeting tonight. Open our hearts and minds that we may advance the common good of all. We ask all of this as one people, united in purpose. Amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. The first item of business is a appointment to the Hillsborough County City-County Planning Commission. There's one vacancy on the Hillsborough County City-County Planning Commission for a term extending from tonight, January 4th, until February 2nd, 2025, due to the resignation of our previous appointee, Dr. Linkus. The city has received one application from Stephen Fernandez. If there is a motion, Mr. Fernandez is also affiliated with USF's urban planning. So, one applicant, is there a motion?
I move to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? I do not see Mr. Fernandez here tonight, but I have been in touch with him. So if there is no further discussion, all those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No nays. Mr. Fernandez, if you're watching, congratulations. Thank you for your service. Has everybody had an opportunity to review the minutes from our previous meeting?
I did.
Move to approve. Second.
There's a motion to approve in a second. Any discussion or corrections to the minutes? If not, all those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No corrections. The minutes are approved. Now go to persons wishing to be heard on items not listed on the agenda or items on the consent agenda. We do ask for a 3-minute time limit to be imposed on all comments from the public. We also ask that speakers come to the podium and state their name and city of address prior to their comments. And we'd like to assure everybody watching that the comments from the public are taken very seriously by the city manager, the elected officials, and the directors in attendance, and we do follow up on these matters. I don't only see one member of the public in attendance today. Is there any members that wish to speak? Okay, well, we'll move on from that. I've never stopped here, but the next item is communications and petitions. And when I arrived here this evening, I did see that we got a Christmas card from our sister city in Eastleigh, England. It says, with Christmas greetings and best wishes for the new year from the Mayor of Eastleigh, Councilor Cynthia Garden, and Chief Executive Nick Tustian, and all the Eastleigh Borough Council members. So I will pass this around after the meeting and let everybody take a look at that. We did reestablish contact with them last year. I think I remember I brought that up, and we sent them a care package of sorts. And this is the first we've heard back from them. But we didn't get a Christmas card last year, so I'm assuming they must have gotten the package. So, next item is the first public hearing and first reading of an ordinance amending the election qualifying dates. I will open the public hearing and ask City Clerk Cheryl Mooney to explain.
This came about because every year after we do qualifying, every year when we do qualifying, the county supervisor election is waiting. They're holding up everything, waiting for us to give them our candidates. So I called them earlier this year and I said, can we change this? What do you suggest? And we worked out these dates, and this will help them get everything done and help us get a check in time to send to them with the qualifying.
Very good. Anything else? Are there members of the public who wish to comment on this? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Council members, do you have any questions? Close the public hearing then, and ask the clerk to read the title of the ordinance.
An ordinance of the City of Temple Terrace, Florida, amending Chapter 2, Administration and Elections, Article 2, Elections of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Temple Terrace, amending Section 2-27, qualifying period for the regular election of the City Council and/or Mayor, providing for severability of provisions, providing for codification, repealing all ordinances in conflict herewith, and providing an effective date.
Good. Is there a motion to approve?
I move to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Is there discussion of the ordinance? If not, all those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No nays. Ordinance is adopted on first reading and will appear for second reading and public hearing on Tuesday, January 18th. Next item of business is the first public hearing and first reading of an ordinance amending Chapter 2 of the Code of Ordinances, Firefighter Pension and Retirement. I'll open the public hearing, and our Fire Chief and Firefighter Pension Chairman Ian Kemp, he wears two hats, will explain.
I wish I only had two hats, Mayor. Mayor, Council, I'm before you for the first reading of the ordinance amending Chapter 2 of the Code of Ordinance, Fire, Pension, and Retirement Plan. The City of Temple Terrace has created a retirement system for the firefighters employed by Temple Terrace to provide pension, death, and disability benefits. Changes to the following plan include amending trustee term limits, drop language change, filing for disability within 30 days of termination was added, and other minor modifications. The proposed pension changes have no cost to the plan nor to the city. The fire department staff recommends the city council adopt the proposed pension ordinance changes.
Are there members of the public who wish to comment on this item? If not, City Council, any questions, Mr.
One
Schuster?
question. Will we be doing the same thing for the police pension at some point? Or how close does it follow? How does this correspond with the police pension ordinance? I mean, I know it's separate. We got to do the same thing for the police also? That's the next, okay, all right, just curious.
And you may not see the same changes in the police that you see in the fire.
I understand that, but we will have to come back and revise that also for some of these same things?
If there are statutory requirements that have to be done, yes.
Okay, all right, good. Okay, that was all I had. That's all I had.
Good. Council members, any questions? I do have one, Chief, and I don't, you may not know the answer to this, so if you, it's okay if you don't. And the only reason I have this is because I missed the last pension meeting when the pension board decided to bring this forward. And so I'm hoping that it came up in the discussion, and when I saw this, I was just gonna call you, and then I realized I can't call him for this because we're both members of the Sunshine Board, so I couldn't do that. So the 30 days after somebody separates from the city, they must report or file for disability within 30 days instead of 60.
That's correct.
What's the provision, or did this come up in discussion? What if the disability is not realized until later? Is there a provision of law that allows somebody to go back if something comes up later, like the presumption, cancer presumption or something along those lines?
Right. Well, my understanding is that there are a lot of plans. Most plans, I think there was some discussion in the previous meeting to the one that you weren't there, that I think the attorney said that most plans either are 30 days or once you retire. So my understanding is they've been vetted out through city and county, city attorneys, because the county has FRS, but city attorneys and possible litigation in the future. So she's comfortable that this is lawful, but I think it's to protect the plan itself, so that someone is not out 90, 120, 2 years later, and then they file for disability. So
Thank you.
I hope that answered your question.
It did. I don't know that there's one single answer to that, but okay. Other questions for the chief? If not, I'll close the public hearing and ask the clerk to read the title of the ordinance.
An ordinance of the City of Temple Terrace, Florida, amending Chapter 2, Administration and Elections, Article 3, Officers and Employees, Division 3, Pensions and Retirement, Subdivision 4, Firefighters of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Temple Terrace, amending Section 2-198 Definitions, amending Section 2-200 Board of Trustees, amending Section 2-201 Finances and Fund Management, Establishment and Operation Fund, amending Section 2-205 Deferment Retirement Option Program, drop amending section 2-205.1, share account, amending section 2-207, disability, providing for severability of provisions, providing for codification, repealing all ordinances in conflict herewith, and providing an effective date.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Is there a motion to approve?
Move to approve the ordinance as read for first reading to be brought back for second reading the 18th.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there discussion of the motion? If not, all those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No nays. The ordinance is adopted on first reading and will appear for a second reading and public hearing on Tuesday, January the 18th. Next item of business is the first public hearing and first reading of an ordinance amending Chapter 12, Section 12-768 of the Code, Tree Removal Regulations and Standards. I will open the public hearing, and City Manager Charles Stevenson will explain.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Council. A couple meetings ago, I initiated some discussion proposing a modification to our tree removal ordinance and amending Chapter 12, specifically Section 12-768. This modification would change, would propose a change to the limited use of funds in the Tree Beautification Fund so that we can use these funds to pay for the removal of dead, dying, and infected trees. Currently, the funds are specifically slated for the installation of new trees, but cannot be used for the removal of any trees. The Tree Beautification Fund is funded when developers contribute to the fund because they are unable to replace a quantity of protected trees removed from a site during the development of a project. Our fiscal year budget generally contains a limited amount of monies to address emergency tree removals, but it is never enough to be proactive with tree removal. We have had Joe Ferris kind of skirt the city. We do have a bunch of laurel oaks that are problematic that we would just as soon be a little bit more proactive with getting those gone. Just last week, I had a 10-inch cut down out here in front of City Hall, a laurel oak, and it was rotten on the inside. Wouldn't appear it from the outside. But those are the kind of issues that we're dealing with, and we have these trees go down on occasion. The proposed change to Section 12-768 modifies the limited use of contributing funds to the beautification fund so that these monies can be also used for removal of dead trees. Currently, that fund has approximately $1.2 million of reserved funds. So those funds are there and can only be used for the replanting of trees. This modification would help us, again, be a little bit more proactive to get some of these trees down that are subject. And certainly, we still have money to replace the tree too, if so be it. A lot of times you certainly don't want to plant a tree under a tree and have conflicts like that. But this modification, I think, would go a long way in trying to use up some of these funds that we do have and help us with some of these tree removals that we have currently slated to come down. So I'll answer any questions you have.
Thank you, Mr. Stevenson. Are there members of the public who wish to comment on this item? Seeing none, council member, questions? Any questions, Vice Mayor?
So these are trees that we know are already dead, dying, or infested, whatever. The arborist is going to tag these trees, right?
Yeah, what we're proposing is to really kind of come to council and make sure that you guys know what we're taking down. Certainly by resolution, we've got it written in here that council will be approving by resolution the removal of any of these trees. I don't anticipate coming to council every time we need to take a tree down unless it's an emergency situation. We do have and can create a schedule of trees that we can bring you a list and say we're taking these trees out, just so council knows that we're doing that. When we do that, we'll certainly propose any kind of replacement tree if it's appropriate. So we'll work with our city arborist in order to do this. I mean, him and I have discussed this, and there is a need for this. So.
Yeah, oh, there's a need, yeah.
So.
Thank you.
So just a clarification, Mr. Stevenson, the ordinance, at least the draft that I have, the red line version says the removal of sick dying, infested, dead trees on public lands after such determination has been made by the city arborist and upon adoption of a resolution by the city council approving the use of these funds for such purpose. So how will that work if you're not, obviously it's cumbersome for you to come for a resolution every time you want to cut down a single tree, but how's that gonna work if it's written like that? Are you gonna compile a list like every quarter or something and bring that to us?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, again, we routinely run through a street and do some trimming anyway. I know that Mr. Ferris has gone through and looked at certain areas, and we certainly have people call us and say, hey, this tree's in the right of way, it's dying, it's dead, its limbs broken off. We have trees that come down during our normal storms, summer storms. So I really don't anticipate coming back to you with a single tree to take out unless it's an emergency and threatens property or real estate or someone's personal property. But we can certainly we could do it on a quarterly basis. I don't really know how we propose to do it just yet, but we will bring you back a list of trees that need to come out and certainly make sure that council knows that we're taking these trees out.
Right, okay, because as I understand the way the draft is written, the use of this particular fund does require a resolution from council.
Yes,
Yeah, okay.
yes.
Yeah, not, the other money is general money that.
The other money does not. The other
Right.
money is used for tree planting, and it doesn't require any approval other than what's in the ordinance from council to
Okay,
spend
that's-
those monies.
That's what I was trying to understand, make sure.
Yeah, I just think we ought to be transparent and make sure that if we take out a tree, that everybody knows we're taking out a tree, and if we have to replace it, we'll replace it.
Very good. Thank you. Councilmember Chambers.
On that, and that's with just this fund money, because leisure services, public works, they all have budgeted tree money now. So that money doesn't have to, money out of those accounts don't have to come to us for approval.
That's correct.
And you won't be cutting those budgets later on?
We can, I'd like to say, yeah. I mean, we have this money, we can use this money.
Okay.
We would have surplus money in the budget, in the regular budget. We have an excess of funds here that I think we ought to be using. So we could take and reassign those funds that are in Public Works account right now to other things that we need to get done. So we put money in their budget to do routine stuff, okay? And I'm talking, that's money for trimming. That's not money for removal of trees, of dead trees, okay? That's just normal, leisure services wants to trim the trees around the rec center. That's what that money is for. That's not for removing dead and dying trees.
Okay. Thank you.
Other questions, council members? If not, I'll close the public hearing and ask the clerk to read the title of the ordinance.
An ordinance of the City of Temple Terrace, Florida, amending Chapter 12 of the Temple Terrace Code of Ordinances, Land Development Code, Article 9, Design Standards and Development Criteria, Division 8, Tree Removal and Trimming, Section 12-768, Tree Removal Regulations and Standards relating to the city's Tree and Landscape Beautification Fund, providing a severability clause, authority to codify, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Is there a motion to approve?
Move to approve.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there discussion on the motion?
Yes.
Councilmember Abel.
May I see the red line of the ordinance, please?
Certainly. Give me just 1 second. I have it.
I'd rather have the copy if you don't mind.
Not at all. Just give me 1 moment. It's two-sided.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So I think this is a good idea, a good way to use these funds. But there were a couple things that I thought might make it a little bit better. And one of the things is, it says that the planting of trees on public lands, which shall be at the city administration's sole discretion. And this provision that's being added is about removing the sick or dying or infested trees. And I think that I would like to see a provision in here for every sick, diseased, or dying tree that is removed. I'd like to see a one-for-one replacement. It doesn't have to be in the same spot, and it doesn't have to be like immediately afterward, but I would like to make sure that we're not reducing our canopy as a part of this program. And like I said, I think it's important, especially for the safety concerns with these trees that are in bad condition. But I'd like to talk to council about maybe looking at modifying this to make it so that we have a one-for-one replacement written in here. That's one thing. And the other thing is, talking to the city manager about this earlier today, it sounded to me as though there were a lot of funds here that it's almost too much to spend. Like we don't have enough, we can't buy enough trees right now to use these funds. So I thought it might be a good idea to think about maybe using the funds in addition to this, adding something about provisions for beautification plantings. Maybe not trees that are being planted, but maybe ornamental shrubbery, or like what we were talking about for the downtown redevelopment area, perhaps putting in planters with maybe smaller trees, like you might see in a downtown area. I don't know if all of this stuff is something that we might include here, but it seems like a really good way to usefully put these funds into action and modify it so that we're not reducing our canopy.
So I have I don't know the answer to this, but the one for one, I understand that, but this predates me, so maybe somebody can help me with this. Isn't this tree program part of our designation as a tree city USA? Isn't this fund, the existence of it and the expenditures of these funds is connected to that, right?
They are connected, yes.
So, or how strict are are there guidelines associated with how the fund has to be used in order for us to maintain this designation, or?
No, sir, not that I'm aware of, no.
Councilman?
I don't know the tree fund started way before Tree City USA.
It did?
Yeah, I believe it actually started when the city or some developer cleared the lot at Fowler and 56 where the Coca-Cola plant
Overnight.
is now. And we had no provision for putting back trees, so that created an uproar, and this came about for that. But Tree City USA is tied to this, how much we spend on trees in the budget on both funds, the normal budget, operating money and the other. And I don't recall the numbers. That's something that the arborist would have to look at, whoever now applies. Because the arborist was under leisure services in my day, but he's not now. So I don't know which department is doing Tree City work. I'm looking out there, Mr. Langfield saying no, so.
It's under community development right now.
Community development right now, okay. So they would have to look at it, but to comment on your comment, I think that's something we can look at if this passes, that we can look at adding that down the road if we see there's a need for beautification. And it won't hurt our tree fund. So I'm not sure we don't need to do that tonight.
It seems like the city attorney might have some information about.
The criteria to be a Tree City USA is that the community must have
Your microphone?
the community must have a tree board or department, a tree care ordinance, a community forestry program with an annual budget of at least $2 per capita, and an Arbor Day observation and proclamation.
Okay, so we have a lot of flexibility then to incorporate different, okay. So we have a couple of options. We have a motion on the floor to approve it as it's written. So one option is to do that. One option is to amend the current motion. Another option is to make those amendments and bring it back amended for second reading. And I guess the fourth option would be to postpone any changes until somewhere down the road. So we can approve it as is. We can change it for second reading. We can decide not to change it, or some combination thereof.
Well, it's,
I don't remember who made the motion,
I
so,
made the motion.
okay, well, I'll let you,
I believe, though, that the intent of the ordinance is, at this point, is strictly for the dead, dying, and diseased trees, which we know we have a significant problem with. We have tons of trees all over the city that were planted back in the 60s and 50s and 60s that are now dying. So we do have an issue there. As far as what I had read in it, I think we have the latitude to do many of these things within the current ordinance, the way the ordinance is written. Beyond that, with regards to the downtown redevelopment, we don't have a plan yet. So we don't know what we're going to end up doing or needing, and it may not fall under the tree purview for ornamental and decorative and stuff like that. I agree wholeheartedly, tree out, tree in. I agree with that completely. I don't know that we need to delay this activity because we're bringing it back for another reading. If we can we modify the ordinance, Ms. Sean? Can we modify the ordinance for the second reading to include that type of stuff?
Yes.
so, if I might
Yeah,
inject,
give
and
me-
you still have the floor, but if I might try to
Yeah, go
clarify a
ahead.
little bit.
Give me a way to go.
Just from my perspective,
Yeah.
I heard two things. One of them I'm a little warmer to tonight than I am the other one. One of them is a tree out, tree in.
Yeah.
Under the wording of the ordinance now, it doesn't say that. Now, this is narrower money than general fund money. This is
Yes.
a special pot of money. So personally, I'm kind of warm to the idea of tree out, tree in, one for one. The other part about the beautification, I kind of agree with you that maybe that's something that as we have needs later, we could go back and say, okay, we need $300,000 for something, how much is this fund, and that, we can do that at any time. That's just my opinion.
And I agree with that. I'm looking for something to hang on to. Let me modify, if I may. Do you have to withdraw your second? And I'll modify, or let me modify the resolution.
I was just gonna ask you,
I'll modify.
it sounds like if you modify your amendment tonight, we can do the in and out.
Sure.
Make it, and then the other would be up for other discussion. I
At
definitely
that point in
will.
time. Okay,
back
all right.
your-
So I would modify the motion to approve as read with the modification of a one in, one in, one out on trees that are removed. And it doesn't have to be concurrent. It has to, eventually, if you take 10 out, you have to put 10 back in sooner or later. So however that has to be worded. You know what I'm trying to say? Okay.
So let's see if we get a second, and then I want to ask the city manager his
I
views.
wanna make sure I was the one who made the second.
I think you were.
Well, first of all, let me ask, are you?
You might be asking the wrong person.
Is the motion sufficiently clear?
I made this,
Yeah.
Okay, hold on. Let's do this one at a time. Is the motion sufficiently clear?
The motion is sufficiently clear, and before the next hearing reading, we'll get the wording correct in there so that it will say what you're intending to do.
Okay,
So,
so
and also remember that that you are going to have to ultimately approve a resolution allowing the removal, so so you have certainly control at that time to say, all right, we're not going to approve the resolution for removal of the tree unless that resolution includes some language about replacement. However, I understand the point of putting it in here because future councils may not know of your intention.
Exactly.
okay, so we have a modified motion. We need a second.
I was the second, so yeah.
Do we have a second?
Yes.
Okay, city manager, we didn't get it. What are your thoughts on this? Any input?
No, we could certainly modify the ordinance. I mean, that's not that big of a deal. We'll bring it back to you with a replacement.
Okay, but operationally, you don't see any,
Well, operationally, no, sometimes we take a tree out and you just can't put another one in. And I think that, again, when we bring a resolution to you to remove a tree, we'll let you know whether or not we can replace one. I'm assuming that I don't have to replace it in the same spot.
no.
Not.
No.
Probably not. That's why the dead is, most of the time, the ground is, you don't want to put a tree there. It's diseased or whatever.
Yeah, too often, some of the problems we've had in the past is we plant a tree under a tree. And a tree under a tree doesn't work real
Yeah,
well.
But Okay, we can make this work like it is.
We, you know, a lot of this has to do using a little bit of common sense when we take out a dead and dying tree. So
So we have them,
I think we can word it so that we're on the same track as council's desire here to replace a tree when we remove a tree.
okay. So prior to discussion, I think the clerk needs some clarification.
From the city attorney. I advertised, it's gonna be in the paper on Friday. I might be able to tweak it just a little bit tomorrow morning, because they're gonna send me the proof tomorrow morning. Is the title gonna change, what we're doing?
I wouldn't think so.
Right, thank you.
Okay, so we have a motion, we have a second, we know this can work. You were the one that made the original suggestions, you comfortable where we are?
Yeah, I'm really happy with that. The secondary one was just to put it in our minds for another time.
Well, and we can discuss that at a future, okay. Everybody ready? Good? All those in favor signify with aye. Aye. Any opposed? No nays? Very good, thank yous. Next item of business is a resolution approving the purchase of shade covers for the Family Recreation Complex. Leisure Services Carl Langfeld is here to explain. Good evening, Mr. Langfeld.
Good evening, Mayor, members of City Council. I come to you tonight requesting a resolution approving the purchase of shade structures at the Family Recreation Complex in a total amount of $165,744.50. This purchase will be made from Top Line Recreation, piggybacking on the St. Johns County School District contract number 2018-04. We will be purchasing from Top Line Recreation 3 separate shade canopies. 2 of those shade canopies will be installed on the pool deck at the family complex. The cost of those canopies is $46,096.83 coming from account 160-1830-572-6327. The third shade structure will be covering the multi-purpose court at the family complex. That shade structure is $119,647.67 coming from account 160-1881-572-6241. These shade structures will continue improvements that we've been making to the Family Recreation Complex over the past years, and will keep our family complex as one of the premier recreation centers in the area. I stand for any questions you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Langfeld. Other members of the public who wish to comment on this item? Seeing none, council members, questions?
No.
Thank you very much. Is there a motion to approve the resolution?
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? If not, all those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No nays. Resolution is adopted. Thank you, Mr. Rick. Next item is a resolution accepting an Edward Byrne JAG grant funds to purchase Vigilant Solutions L5Q cameras. Police Captain Staley is here to explain. Welcome, Captain.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council. Rob Staley, Administrative Captain of your Police Department. Come before you tonight because the city has been awarded a grant in the amount of $4,749 as part of our JAG grant program. As indicated in the city's grant application and gaining council's approval, the police department intends to use $4,500 of the grant funds to purchase 2 Vigilant Solutions L5Q quick deploy LPR camera systems. 140 of the grant funds will be used for shipping costs, and $198 will be used for a replacement plan that ensures against theft and vandalism. The purchase will be made under account number 001-1411-521, 521-5142, and I stand for questions.
Captain, so the police department insures their cameras against theft. There's a little irony in that.
Yes.
No, it's really not.
That's right.
Are there members of the public who wish to comment on this? Council member questions? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve?
I move to approve the resolution.
Second.
Motion and a second, discussion of the motion. Seeing none, all those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No nays. Resolution is adopted. Thank you, Captain. Next item is a resolution approving the purchase of replacement fire command vehicle with lighting and radio package. Fire Chief Kemp is back once again to explain. This time you're wearing your chief hat,
Yes,
right?
sir.
Okay.
Honorable Mayor, Council, Ian Kemp, your fire chief. Before you regarding the purchase of a replacement fire command vehicle. As part of the fire department's vehicle replacement plan, funds were budgeted and included in the fiscal year 2020-2021 Community Investment Tax Fund for the purchase of a fire command vehicle with a lighting package and radio installation included. The total cost for the vehicle and lighting and radio package is $40,978.29. The purchase of the vehicle will be made from Duval Ford in Jacksonville under the Sheriff's Association Light Vehicle Contract, FSA 20-VEL 18.0. The new vehicle will be replacing a vehicle that is past due for replacement. Once a new vehicle is received, the vehicle will be replaced and delivered to Public Works for sale or auction. The fire department staff recommends the city adopt a resolution approving the purchase of this 2022 Ford Explorer command vehicle, including factory installed lighting and radio. These purchases are being made under the city's current vehicle replacement program.
Good. Thank you. Are there members of the public who wish to comment on this? Seeing none, council member questions? If no questions, is there a motion to approve the resolution?
Move to approve the replacement of the fire command vehicle and lighting package.
Second that.
Motion and a second. Is there discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify with aye. Aye. Any opposed? No nays. Resolution is adopted. Thank you once again, Chief.
Sir.
Next item on the agenda is a resolution approving a CDBG interlocal funding agreement with Hillsborough County. Finance Director Lynn Boswell will explain. Welcome, Ms. Boswell.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and council members. Seems like I'm up here every other month on the CDBG. So I have a presentation, just a really quick one that just summarizes the interlocal agreement, so we're all on the same page on this particular CDBG. This is a federal 2020-2021 grant. The county calls it the 21-22 grant. We submitted it last year in April of 2021. We finally got the feedback and the final approval from them saying, okay, this is good enough application. We'll go ahead and accept that. We got that on April 30th. As you can see from the timeline, we just got our interlocal agreement from the county on December 15th of last month. And today I stand before you with the resolution and the agenda items. The highlights are the amount is $255,101. There's only 2% requirements in this particular interlocal. They would usually have 3 or 4, 25% spent by then, 40, 50, 70. It was just getting complicated, so they just have the 2. 50% spent by July 31st of this year, the other remainder by December 31st of this year. These are the areas that are being proposed. However, I would like to point out at the very bottom, it says there is flexibility in the order and it depends on the costs of the projects. So it depends on what we're doing with the last CDBG and then how this one is impacted. And I went ahead and gave you kind of a little visual in red. Those are the spots that are particular just to this particular CDBG 21-22 project year. The recommendation is that the City Council adopt a resolution authorizing execution of an agreement between Hillsborough County and the City of Temple Terrace to fund street improvements under the Community Development Block Grant in the amount of $255,101. Any questions?
Prior to that, are there members of the public who wish to comment on this item? Seeing none. Councilmember questions. Councilmember Schisler.
I do. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. All right, we did a CDBG grant or interlocal agreement for an area around the park over there.
Yes, I believe that is correct.
Is this the same area that we're talking about?
I don't believe that it is. I believe that was in the 2021 agreement.
That was a 2021 agreement.
That is correct. That's the one that I came before you the last time, no modifications. That was the 2021 agreement.
I don't know, this is a question for you or for Troy. This would be your department handling it, right, Troy? Okay. Can we get a layout, some kind of a map as to where all these CDGB grants are being spent? Because I'm a little confused with which one which covers. And, I mean, are you prepared to get working on these? Because December is not that far away.
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely, we'll have everything spent by the deadline.
Okay, I would like to see, I'm not gonna hold this up for that, but I mean, I would like to see where we stand with all the the grants that we've had for the last 2 or 3 years. What areas they cover, and if they're finished or not finished, or what the status of those are. So,
Yes, and what's really good about the way we've been doing these grants is we kind of model out about 5-year plans. So there's actually 5 years, and this was part of that 5 years. I think in the next 1 or 2 cycles, we're getting ready to do the next 5 years. So we don't have to keep repeating, or sometimes there's emergent circumstances that happen and we can't get to something, but we can get to something else, or something else is delayed, and we don't want to be able to do that. And the Public Works Department has been really great about getting everything all done. So we've just closed out 2 of them, I think, a week ago. And it's had nothing to do with us. They did everything they were supposed to. It was on the county side. They had just not closed us out. And so we're closed out. These are new. We haven't even started those, and those are getting ready to get started. So I'm really excited about that.
but the reason I bring that up is that we have a lot of capital projects that are gonna be coming down the line with ARPA and everything else in the next few years. And I don't want this to get lost in the woodwork. And the next council is going to have to track this and be aware of what's going on with it, because we get asked questions and we need to know where we stand with that. Okay, thank you.
There are, if I might add, there's only certain census areas that we're allowed
Understand
to
that.
put
Yeah,
those
right.
in.
No, and
So
I understand that.
okay.
That's why I want to know, we want to know where we stand with that, based upon those areas.
Perfect. Great.
Councilmember Chambers.
I'd like to see that report also, just saying if we need a consensus on it or something. But I'd like to see a report on the projects in the last so many years. Just know where they are.
Very good. Council members, Vice Mayor?
So some of these projects go from one CDBG grant to the next, right? So we know we lay sidewalk for 100 feet, and then we know that next year we're going to ask for the next 100 feet, and we just keep going like that. So they are connected, and they'll get the job done maybe over several grant periods.
That is correct. That's what happened to the university lines. If I'm not mistaken, that had to go over 2 grant periods to cover that entire cost. And so that's why I said at the very bottom in bold, there's flexibility in this, which is really great. And it just depends on what did we get done, what we were able to do in 2021. Do we need to move that over to 21, 22, which is this one that you're looking at this evening?
I will add, the one at Serena Park really made a difference. It turned it into a park rather than a just piece of vacant land. It looks like something that you would want to use. So it definitely did what it was supposed to do, which is to enhance that neighborhood. So
Public Works does an amazing job. Troy and Brian and his team are really great about this.
thank you.
Good. Thank you, Ms. Boswell. Is there a motion to adopt the resolution?
I move to approve the resolution approving the CDBG interlocal funding agreement. I just like saying CDBG.
Out of one fell swoop, yeah.
Second
A second.
A motion and a second. Is there discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No nays? Resolution is adopted. Thank you, Ms. Boswell. Next item is a resolution approving the community planning oh, here's one for you, Mr. Schister. Resolution approving the community planning technical assistance grant agreement with the Florida Department of Economic Development for a complete streets safety action plan. We should turn that into an acronym.
Yeah, it probably is.
Very good. City Engineer Brian McCarthy is here to explain. Welcome, Brian.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, City Council, Brian McCarthy, City Engineer, and I'm here this evening to seek approval for a $50,000 grant agreement with the Florida Department of Economic Development. So back in May of 2021, we applied for a Community Planning Technical Assistant Grant to help us develop a complete streets and safety action plan. So at the time of the application, we selected the corridors that were receiving the most amount of speeding concerns on. So as you can see in the map on the screen, we limited it to 3 main corridors, which is Whiteway Drive from 56 to River Hills, Druid Hills Road from 56 to River Hills, and then River Hills Drive from Druid Hills up to Fowler. So our scope of work with the state includes understanding the existing conditions as is, creating a project website, gathering public input both virtually and in person, drafting a plan about complete streets and safety action, and then concluding with a presentation of said plan to City Council. So we hope that the traffic calming tools that we develop throughout this process can be used in other city roads as well. So with that said, staff recommends City Council approve the grant agreement with the Florida Department of Economic Development to develop a complete street and safety action plan in the amount of $50,000 to be provided from account number 130-1724-541.63-11. Available for any questions.
Good, thank you, Mr. McCarthy. Are there members of the public who wish to comment on this item? Seeing none, council member questions. Vice Mayor Donahue.
I know you want to have a town hall meeting. Is that something, is that subject, is that part of your discussion, is to have a town hall type thing for people to
It can
see
be.
what this will look like?
So our
And-
virtual, sorry.
And will that fit into your timeline? What is your timeline on this?
We have to have this completed by June 30th. So depending upon when the town hall will be, our virtual meetings will be with the stakeholders, and then our in-person is kind of going to be open to the public. So whether or not that meets the town hall date as well, it's,
Okay, these are 2 different meetings. One of these, the next item, the next agenda item is to approve a contract with a contractor, a vendor who's going to do the meetings for this.
Okay.
Our town hall meeting is for a different purpose.
Well, we didn't have a purpose of ours. I didn't know if it would fit
Right.
there. And if not, then absolutely, you already have a plan for getting the word out, especially with stakeholders. And that's a long list of stakeholders there, looking at this list. I think that as soon as people see what this will do, they will be happy. So I'm glad that that there's a way for us to let people know that we've won this grant and that this is coming. Because there, as you know, Chief knows, those are 2 of the hot streets, literally, for speeders.
Councilmember Schister.
If I understand this, thank you, Mr. Mayor. If I understand this, Resolution A accepts the grant, H, Resolution I spends the grant?
that's correct.
Okay, all right, so my question then, and I think you answered it, but I want to clarify. The 3 routes that were chosen by select criteria based upon safety and speeding issues?
Well, I would say it was selected by staff based upon our experience and what we've heard from the public at that time.
But it was based upon issues for public safety? Because there are a lot of other areas in town that could use a lot,
Yes.
could possibly use this kind of remediation, if you will.
And we're hoping to, once we develop some of those tools or different criteria for these roads, that we can include them in other areas of the city.
And how long do they think it'll take to complete the analysis?
This study itself is only going to be for 6 months.
6 months. So 6 months could then be ready for some ARPA funds. Okay, all right, thank you. That answers my question.
This wouldn't qualify for ARPA.
Pardon me?
This would not.
No, I understand that, but I mean, some of the issues that we could learn from it and figure out how to do might qualify in some other areas.
I know with ARPA, a lot of it's with our
Not
drinking
road.
water, wastewater, and stormwater infrastructure, not necessarily transportation.
Not roads. I've tried. I do have a question about your selection of the roads, and I think I know the answer to this, but it'll be on other people's minds too, I'm sure. We just repaved River Hills from Whiteway up to Fowler.
That's correct.
So depending on the results of this study, what are the potential outcomes of that? Would it certainly, hopefully wouldn't involve repaving it again after we just spent the money to do that. What would be,
So some of the things that we can look at more short-term would be like a raised crosswalk or like a speed hump that could certainly go over on top of the road if that's one of the options. Some of the more long-term plans obviously could be like a roundabout, which would be obviously years down the road.
okay.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, I'm sorry, Councilmember Abel.
So looking at the map, Whiteway and Druid Hills are roads that essentially perform the same function. They're both east-west corridors that go from River Hills to 56th Street. And I was wondering if there were any other streets that maybe had a different function. So maybe just Whiteway or just Druid Hills could be looked at, and maybe some other road that maybe has some different characteristics to it might be a more effective choice. And when Mr. Schisler asked about your criteria for selecting them, it sounds like just sort of like, oh, I've heard this. And I don't mean to be critical, but it sounds like there wasn't really objective criteria used to choose these roads. And I definitely think the East-West Street is a great choice and the River Hills is a great choice, but I'm just wondering if there could be any criteria to select a road that has different characteristics from those two east-west roads.
So I know just thinking about transportation in general, you want to think about it as a network. So once we start making some of these changes to Whiteway, some of those vehicles might start moving south onto Druid Hills. So we want to look at it as a connectivity. And this, I think, by looking at two east-west roads can kind of give us that opportunity.
Brian, isn't the grant road specific to what we applied for also?
Yes.
I mean, we can't change it now.
I understand.
Yeah. But I think I understand what you're saying is a good point, is the lessons for these roads, we wouldn't necessarily need another study to know that we could apply these same strategies to Ridgedale or, you know, other Gillette.
And moreover, I just wouldn't want any particular areas of the city to seem like they're being neglected, because all three of these streets are all in the northern part of the city, you know, between, it's just something to think about.
Will do. Thank you.
Okay. Is there a motion to, I forgot what we're talking about here.
Mr. Mayor,
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Stevens, yes.
Can I make just a quick comment? I need to make it clear to council, this is just a study. This is no construction whatsoever.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, there's no changes, no modifications.
Well, we're not even to the study yet. We're just to the point of taking the money. We're gonna get to the study in a second. So this one's pretty easy. Is there a motion to approve the resolution accepting the funds?
Move to approve the resolution accepting the community planning technical assistance grant agreement.
Good job. Second that.
There's a motion and a second. I think Councilmember Chambers beat you to it. Is there discussion on the motion? All those in favor signify with aye.
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 Any opposed? No nays. Resolution is adopted. Now, the next related resolution is to approve a task work order for general engineering services to Kimley Horn and Associates for creating a complete streets and safety action plan for the expenditure of these funds. And Brian McCarthy is here to once again explain.
All right, good evening, everyone again. I'm McCarthy, City Engineer, and I'm here seeking approval to award a task work order to Kimley Horn and Associates to develop the Complete Streets and Safety Action Plan. So back in April of 2021, when I first came on board, I had all sorts of transportation ideas that I wanted to look at that time. And I had a chance to discuss it with Kimley Horn and Associates, and they recommended that we apply for a community planning technical grant to help put all these ideas into a plan. So in July of 2021, we were notified that we were awarded the $50,000 grant. And in December 2021, we received our final agreement with the state. So, excuse me, Kimley Horn and Associates will help the city complete our scope of work with our agreement with the state. With that said, staff recommends City Council approve the task work order to Kimley Horn and Associates under our existing general professional services agreement to develop a complete streets and safety action plan in the amount of $50,000 to be provided from account number 130-1724-541.63-11. Available for any questions.
or members of the public who wish to comment on this item? Seeing none, council member questions? Councilmember Schisler.
Yes, thank you. Would the police department be one of the stakeholders involved? And,
Emergency services, yes, and enforcement.
okay, good, thank you.
Other questions? I do have one, and of all the government things that I'm involved in, transportation seems to be the, I don't know what the right word is, the most complex, I guess, is a good way to put it, but layers upon layers upon layers. So we talked about the portability or the transferability of some of these strategies. Once we learn about these sections of roadways, we could theoretically adopt some of those strategies to other roadways without a new study. But it strikes me that there are hundreds of miles of roads that are very similar to these roads already that these studies have been done on. So why is it that we can't find another 25-mile-an-hour stretch of two-lane road with a bike lane and 40,000 cars a day or whatever, and just already take that information instead of getting a grant and funding a $50,000 study? I'm a little, I mean, I'm not a traffic engineer, but that road is very similar to that road and that other road and this road. And I don't understand why we piggyback on purchasing and grant and bids, and yet we have to do a new study for 2 miles of two-lane, 25-mile-an-hour road every time we want to make it multimodal. Can you shed any light on that for a layperson?
I guess for me, the important aspect of this is going to be the public involvement. Because with Whiteway Avenue, there were speed bumps on there before they were removed again. And so this kind of gives us an opportunity to get feedback from the public to understand some of the different traffic calming measures that are out there that we want as a city to provide on our roads.
Okay. And I'm not trying to pick on you. It just seems to me that there are millions of dollars of tax money spent to do the same study over and over and over again right next door in the other city or in the county or in, why isn't there, it probably is, Kimley Horn's gonna pull it off the shelf and say this is what the, why do we have to reinvent this for every stretch of road that we want to make? I don't quite get that.
Unfortunately, I probably don't have a great answer.
I know,
Yeah.
I'm picking on you like you invented it. I know you didn't. I'm just,
Well, can I just
But-
add one comment?
sure.
And this is not to come to his defense, because I think he's, poor guy's squirming right now.
So I'm not mad at
I sure
him.
don't- Yeah, I sure don't know the answer, but I have been at enough of those meetings like you to know that sometimes you can't build it unless you've done the prerequisite, which is the study, sadly.
Yeah,
The
but we're
system is
using
set
our
up-
own money. We're not subject
Yeah.
to the federal and the state guideline. If we're gonna use state and federal money, that's true,
Yeah.
but we're using our money.
Yeah, I mean, maybe the study would be 3 times this if they weren't pulling it off the shelf, I don't know. I thought exactly the same thing you did, and I was trying to justify why, if we can replicate it once we do it, it's almost like you have to buy the pattern.
Yeah, Brian, I'm not picking on you. I know this isn't your fault. I know this is how it's done, but it just, nobody has been able to explain to me, and you're a pretty smart guy. You probably already know what needs to happen on that road.
I have some ideas.
I bet. So, all right, I'll leave it.
That's not how government works these days.
Any other questions? I'll get off my tirade here. Okay, we're good. Is there a motion to approve the resolution?
I move to approve the resolution.
Second.
Motion and a second. Is there discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify with aye. Aye. Any opposed? No nays. Resolution is adopted. Brian, I'm sorry for putting you through all that.
Sometimes the hot seat is a podium.
That's not a hot seat. Next item is a resolution approving the sale and disposal of publicly owned property located on Rollerson Ranch Road. City Manager Stevenson will explain.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. At our last city council meeting, council gave administration direction to create a resolution for the disposal of city-owned property at Rollerson Ranch Road. Attached to the agenda this evening is that resolution. At a council meeting in October of 2019, City Council established a process by adopting Resolution 114-19, outlining the method to be used for the disposal and sale of public property and lands that the city felt to be in excess of the city's needs, and such disposal would be in the best interest of the public. The resolution tonight addresses 20 acres at the southeast corner of I-75 and East Fowler Avenue, more commonly known as Rolliston Ranch Road property. The 20-acre site contains 5 parcels identified as folio 061180 .0000, 061183.0000, 061184.0000, 061184.1000, and 061182.0000. Approval of the resolution this evening, per council's desires, allow staff to begin the process of disposal of that property. I'll answer any questions council may have.
Thank you, Mr. Stevenson. Are there members of the public wish to comment on this? Seeing none, council member questions.
I have a question about
Vice Mayor.
do we have it assessed first, or just put it out there? I mean, or has it already been assessed?
Appraised. It has
Appraised? Oh, that's what I mean, sorry. Thank you. Yeah,
it has been.
it's already been appraised, so we have that done?
Yeah, we established an appraisal
Okay,
a few months ago.
Couple months, yeah.
okay.
I have a quick question. I'm just for clarification, I did read the other resolution that you alluded to that talks about disposal, notice of disposal. Is there a certain period of time that have you decided on that, or is it called for in the other resolution?
I think we're gonna probably end up needing to put this out there for 60 days.
60 days?
Yeah.
Okay,
I would suggest we advertise it for 60 days.
okay. Other questions, council members? Vice Mayor?
I think this pertains to this. Do we also have a list of properties that we did, at one point, didn't we have a list of properties that we said we could dispose of, or do we do that on a property by property basis? Properties that we own.
City-owned properties for council before. I don't know if it was this
I've
council.
never seen it.
It may have been the previous council. We can certainly find and generate that again, regenerate that for you. We do have other properties that we own. So, but disposal of those properties, or all those properties, has nothing to do with this resolution. This resolution deals with just.
And each one of them has to come to us separately, correct?
But I can certainly we'll regenerate that list of properties for council.
Good. Other questions, council members? If not, is there a motion to approve the resolution?
I move to approve the resolution.
Second.
Motion and a second. Is there discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No nays. Resolution is adopted. Thank you, Mr. Stevenson. Is there any carryover council business from previous meetings? Seeing none, new business and board reports. Well, let me ask you that, before we go to this, is there any other new business? Because the last time I did this, I did this and then I moved on and forgot to, so is there any other new business? Councilmember Chambers.
Yes, this is to kind of talk about our street project, about other streets in our city. And I've received emails, and I don't recall looking to see if you guys received them, from a group of residents down on near River Hills Elementary, Glen Arvin and Ferncliff. So much so that the residents, they've approached the Arts Council to see if the Arts Council would be willing to help put in a street calming mural similar to the one we have on the north side of the city. But I know they're concerned of those. I know they've talked to the police, and someone's waving. Hi. Okay. But they've talked to the police. I just want to let you know that that's out there too. So we have other areas in our city that's got some issues. And this certainly does. Seems like safety of children walking to school is an issue. But I know the Arts Council will be looking at this project to see if we can get it done. So. Just, that's an information.
About how much would those, I don't remember what the other ones cost. Do you recall what that would cost?
Between $1,000 and $2,000.
Yeah, I was gonna say they're not a lot, right?
But we work closely with that one with the city. We have to get the paints approved because you just can't put any paint on the ground to create a slick traffic hazard. So we work with the city. We have to find an artist and then find the funding. Just let you know it's down there and you
Good.
get that out in the open.
Thank you, Councilman. Any other new business? If not, we move to the selection of the vice mayor for 2022. The vice mayor position is filled on a progressive rotation by seniority. Council members who have served a minimum of 2 years are eligible to serve as vice mayor. In the absence of the mayor, the vice mayor shall take the chair at the appointed meeting hour and immediately call the members to order per Resolution 96-88. Excuse me. Pursuant to Rule 6 of Council Rules and Order of Procedure, council members should elect a vice mayor for a one-year term of office. Currently, council members who are eligible to serve as vice mayor are council members Chambers, Donahue, and Schister. So I will open the nominations. Councilmember Chambers,
I nominate Councilmember Schisler.
do you accept the nomination?
Yes, I do.
We have a nomination for Councilmember Schister. Other nominations? Going once, going twice, okay, I will close the nominations. We have one nomination for Councilmember Schister. All those in favor of Councilmember Schister serving as vice mayor signify with aye. What did
Aye.
Wait.
Do we have a second?
Oh,
Do we need a second?
okay. Yes, so let me back up here. We have one nomination for Councilmember Schister. Is there a motion to appoint or elect Councilmember Schister to vice mayor?
I'll second that motion.
I'll make that motion.
I was gonna say, I don't remember anybody making the
Oh, I
motion.
thought he made it.
I made the nomination, not the motion.
Okay.
I'll make the motion too.
Councilmember Chambers, seconded by
Donahue.
Councilmember Donahue. All those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No nays. Congratulations, Vice Mayor Schister. That's gonna take me a couple meetings to get used to that, right? And I made this thing cumbersome, didn't I? We need to do this more than once a year so I get this one worked out. City Manager's report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I don't have any report for you.
City Attorney's report.
Just a short one. Take a look at your emails when you get a chance. I have sent you all a draft of the noise ordinance revisions. So I don't want anybody to get excited. This is a draft. So I'm sending it out to solicit comments, and changes can certainly be made. So just be sure to take a look at that, because as soon as we can get a consensus and make whatever changes are needed, I'm hoping to get it on an agenda coming up soon.
Thank you.
Thank you. And nothing else? Madam Clerk, anything? Okay. Anything else to come before the council? Council members, vice mayor, I gotta get used to that, directors, anybody? Okay, very good. We'll adjourn.